welcome to episode 3 of Small Town Loud Music. This is Lavender by Mortheo. Be sure to stick around through the end of the video because there is a bonus track of a different version of Lavender from my acoustic project that I did solo by myself.
Okay, so here's something funny about that song. I remember I knew I had better audio engineering skills than I did at the time because I remember if you hear the CD, there's a take where you had to redo, and it was the last "It rests in her and dies with me," and I could hear that there's a difference between that take and the rest of the take. I'm like, we shouldn't be able to hear that. Why do we hear that? But I remember that one being one of the first times that I thought musically about how the drums could represent the song. Because if you listen to it, the verses, there's like a verse, there's like a pre-chorus, and there's like a chorus. And I remember thinking I wanted all those drum parts to sound differently, and it was more like a build-up. And so I would think about how I could do different types of build-ups, and I'm trying to think how that the pre-chorus went. It was like, oh god, it's been a while since I've even thought about this song too. Can you help me with that? What is I will not help you destroy yourself, right? Yeah. So that was the part where I'm like, okay, so this is kind of bringing it down a little bit. So I want to see how I could do that now. And so instead of playing cymbals, I'm going to switch to toms and kind of make that build up a little bit more. And thinking of how can I musically represent the drums in a way that helps facilitate the message of the song. And I didn't realize I had put that much thought into it. It was just more like, this could sound cool, but later on, I'm like, well, that's what we were doing. That's pretty rad.
God, I think we were, between maybe 14 and 16 at the most when you wrote Lavender. I mean, lyrically, the poetic way that things were put were very smart. I do enjoy that. The lyrics were very well done.
That was my favorite one by far. I definitely remember Lavender. That there's just something about that song, man. Like that, I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, and to me, I was just that one just vibed with me. I wouldn't say it's like similar to Smashing Pumpkins, but something about it just appealed to me with the way it was formatted. And the lyrics were beautiful, very thought-provoking song and very deep song.
Nice.
Still my favorite.
Just listen to Lavender. Again, another great song. I forgot about that one. I haven't heard that again. Fuck, dude, it's been, like I said, over 20 years. I mean, I moved up here in Springfield in 2001. So, yeah. I mean, from there, that's 20 years, but it's been 99, 2000 maybe. So 22, regardless. Listen to it again. Great song. The acoustic version is just you by yourself is awesome too. A lot of feeling in that one. I liked it.
Sat and listened to Lavender and tried to put some memories to that one. I think that one you guys were actually recording the one time when I went to hang out with you guys at the studio down there in the ghetto by Amaker Park. And that's where I really remember hearing that one.
I only ever remember Lavender being played, of course, by Brian, specifically seeing him play. I don't ever remember seeing it on stage, but I do remember being really inspired musically through Lavender. Lavender was a song that made me want to also play music, create my own music, because Brian was really good at being creative in that way. It was another stepping stone besides, my brother Jesse trying to play music too with Brian and all my brothers playing music. Brian was definitely the biggest influence of me playing music, especially with that song of Lavender.
I remember also listening to that song and it being probably one of my two top favorites on that CD, on that album that you guys put out. But you might have given me a couple of CDs, but I just remember it being another one that flowed really well and was catchy. It wasn't hard to like it.
Let's see, Lavender. I remember that song when it was played acoustically, and I was helping Brian, I think, with the tune for that. Don't really remember much now. I'm 35 now, and like I said, in 1997.
I think my biggest memory from Mortheo was being a freshman or sophomore in high school and seeing the high school band of high school kids just rocking out as heavy as you guys were. It's something I've never seen before. There was other bands, but there may be some metal bands too, but there was a lot of punk going on. For whatever reason, personally, I was at the time wasn't so into punk, not like I am now, but the way you guys dressed, and dark spike colored hair and all all that was definitely new to me. So that was very cool.
The other thing that came about with that early band that was pre-Mortheo, that was just kind of kicking ideas around, was that I became a frontman out of necessity. I did not go into it wanting to be a frontman, be a songwriter necessarily. I did eventually get to like the idea of being a songwriter, but it became more of a thing just because it felt like it was not going to happen if I didn't step up to be a songwriter. I was not going to get to play the kind of music that I wanted to play if I wasn't writing it, and I couldn't write it from back there on the drums. And so that's where it switched from me trying to pursue drums with that band to going for vocals and guitar. And it literally was I was getting on the phone, like I said, I played music with the Cousins before, and I was like, explain to me how to play what I need to play to get by. And they gave me, a few basic instructions, and the rest was just hammering it out until I could mimic what they did, basically, and then take that and make original things with that knowledge.
Lyrics, and I feel like Brian appreciates lyrics, that they leave room for interpretation and they let you know what the song means to you as a listener, right? So there are casual listeners who will get what they get out of it, and then there'll be ones who dive deeper in it, or it hits you at the right time, at the right place, and it means something to you. And years later, an artist might actually tell you what the actual lyrics meant or why they wrote them. But I always find that really interesting because sometimes it's not even close to what you decided it meant for you. Not even a tiny bit. And I think that that's okay, because as listeners, I think as we listen to these lyrics, that they tend to form our own narrative, and they tend to line up somewhere with our worldview or challenges our worldview in a way, comforts, or it does something like it augments or fills a void or challenges something you've already built up in your mind and lets you start questioning the world. So I think as a lyric writer, I feel like you could dig through a lot of these songs and you could argue about what they were about. And I feel like, I could be wrong, but I think Brian likes to do that. He probably even has something about it, but I feel like he actually would state that they could go either way.
You are absolutely not wrong. I as a rule, do not talk about what lyrics meant to me when I wrote them. Because a lot of times I think that fucks it up for other people. Sometimes they do have like multiple meanings that are, you know, going over the top of itself, where there's multiple topics that have kind of been, you know, swirled around in a blender, but they're similar enough that it's just like a whole lot of what's going on with me that's all coming out at once. But no, you are right. I do kind of leave it for people to figure out on their own and apply to themselves. That's what's going to make it meaningful for them. A lot of times, what really needs to get across is just, you know, the very basis of the feeling itself. It's a better way to put that. Just the raw elemental form of the emotion. That's what's going to count as far as what it means to somebody else. And like, I've made examples before about certain bands that I listen to that lyrically aren't that great, and it's just the music, and it doesn't even always come down to what's being said so much as, do I believe that they believe what they're saying? And people convey that to me sometimes. It'll be something that I'm like, okay, like, logically, I have no idea what this fucker is talking about, but if I just listen to the tone and, you know, the emotion of it, I feel it. Whereas other people are just putting nonsense down on a page and trying to pass it off as art. And I haven't said a whole lot about it yet, but when people stop making songs and start making art, I usually start to fucking hate their music. And I mean, I would never, I'm very reluctant to refer to myself as an artist of any sort. And I think people just get a little too high on themselves when they start thinking of shit in those terms. They start making themselves into some sort of big made-up character, and it's not real anymore. And if that's art, I don't want a part of it.
Would you be interested in hearing a new album from Mortheo, or would you rather just leave your memories where they're at?
With all the old crew?
Most of the old crew.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see that. Now that we're all 40. Please make that happen, please. I will pay good money.
As far as the second album, I think the hiatus has been long enough, and I think everybody, if they came back together, would come up with something just amazing. After listening to these songs that you guys wrote back then, and how well composed they actually were as far as the lyrics go, and I mean, it was pretty basic chord structures and stuff going into the music, but it just worked phenomenally well. It doesn't have to be anything crazy out of the box to be good.
Oh man, amen. it really does not need to be that complicated. I think people get a little too caught up in trying to do something impressive, and oftentimes, as a result, they sound like shit for it. But yeah, I'll let you get the announcement from X.
Dude, I just remember you being a lyric machine.
Yeah.
Coming up with like here, let me show you this like expandable folder that just has tons of lyrics. So
Yeah.
just pull one out real
Still
quick.
got it.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
went through it the other day for if you want to make the announcement.
Oh yes, that there's going to be a Mortheo album 2022.
There was the question, what was Myrtle Creek's reaction to us? Now, actually, the younger generation absolutely seemed to love us. They would learn our music. They would chant it at us. You know, like those were good when like the younger brothers of friends were coming. They really liked the stuff. The people our age, they dug it too. You know, once we started playing in the circuit with the locals in Myrtle Creek, with the Preservatives and everybody else, it started taking off where everybody in our age range was sitting there, when are you guys releasing an album? What are you guys doing? You know, they really dug it too. Now, the ones in Myrtle Creek that didn't really dig it would have been in the older generation. They kind of looked at us like we were very strange, very loud, and just trying to create problems. We looked different, we talked different, and we played different. So, life is in a small town. Me and Brian once in a while would put on the face makeup, go sit next to elderly people at McDonald's, Walmart, things like that. It kind of weirds them out a little bit. But you know, all in all, I think Myrtle Creek accepted us in the end.
Now, as far as resistance from the good people of Myrtle Creek to Mortheo, I'm sure there are some, but you know, it's a small town. But we never really cared. The term Karen wasn't a thing yet back then, and I'm sure there was a few of them, but we were too busy enjoying ourselves to actually care what the denizens of Myrtle Creek thought of us or any of it. It's the best years of our life. Do you think Mortheo's appearance made an impact on how people listen to them? Like, did the look have an effect on people's reaction to Mortheo more than the sound?
You know, it was weird. Where you'd think you would have more of a negative reaction. It wasn't really as much negative reaction as I was thinking. You know, I mean, you have Zer0 dressed up and, you know, eyes all, I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, unless you're looking like right at Marilyn Manson, you pull one contact out and got one dark eye, one wide eye, kind of creep you out, scare you out sometimes. You got these horns and stuff, you'd run around, spikes everywhere, and I don't think people really understood, you know, I don't think they really knew to go one way or the other with it. You know, they're just kind of like, oh, yeah, it's just Brian, you know, they'd do that kind of stuff, and yeah, we'd take off and do our own things, and when it came to a band, I mean, you had a couple other bands and stuff that were around there, but I don't think they had anything different on our outlook or any of that kind of stuff. I don't think it was negative. I don't think it was positive. I don't think it was really anything. I was more like, look at them, say, all right, you know, and then go this direction. Other than that, I don't think so.
We also had a kind of an angsty feel where we thought we were against the world with a lot of the musical tastes that like although we had a bunch of people like Widget and you know, like just people who wanted to show up and support what we were doing, not because of the fact that they were just bros of ours or friends of ours, but it was like they really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Like I still remember that VHS tape of us playing the Elks Lodge in down like right in the middle of Myrtle Creek, and like you could see the camera pan over it, and there's two girls. I don't even know who the hell those two girls are, and they're just rocking out and having a good time. And it's like that made me feel really, really good seeing something like that. You know, and people kind of had their connection with, like my one of my favorite ones was oh god, can't remember the name of the song now. Is I always thought that was such a cool bass line. Damn, Aaron, you can write some good bass lines. Yeah, but that was the whole idea. I can't remember what it was. What was the name of that song? Old. How can I hold on? How can I let go?
Right.
What does it mean? I'm in between it all. Yeah, that song was just like it taught me my favorite chord in all the music school that I ended up doing afterwards. I found out that that's what that's called, a suspended ninth chord. Is that dun 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 dun? It's adding so it's 1-5-1. So you're saying root 5 root, but on the last one, you're just going over to a second. So it's this, and so instead of 158, it's 159, and because it's din, 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 holding that out, that's why they call it suspended ninth.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool. Something like that is what ended up like fueling, years later my idea to learn music in college. So and it's like, oh, that's what that's fucking called. I love that chord. That's awesome. But I mean, that was the whole idea, right? We're kind of both lyrically and musically in the notes that we chose, like providing a different atmosphere than a lot of people in that area was used to.
Yeah.
And some people made fucking nervous.
Yeah.
Which I was okay with. Always okay with.
There's a few people I talked to too that I was like, because I look back on it now being older and I'm like, how many people did we like give a space where they felt like they actually belonged? Because they felt like they were on the fringes like us. A lot of the people that came to those shows.
All those people that would sit on the stage with us during lunch, or when we first started, or breakfast before the first class would start.
So there were definitely a lot of people that were just like, no, like we don't want that. But there were a ton of people who were just like, oh, I finally have a place where I don't feel like I'm an outcast anymore.
Yeah, and that was kind of, I imagine that's a typical response for almost any kind of music that's out there. Some people are just going to hate it and some people are going to love it, but when you're in that small of a town, there's so much less options out there, and so to realize that here we are, this option, that one could argue like wouldn't even be considered good in that town. You've got all these people who not only do they love the music, but they also, like you said, they felt like they belonged with us.
Yeah.
That's what ended up. If you take a look at when we first started in my sophomore year, and then see senior year, by the end of it, how many people are like, "What are you guys playing a show?" Or like, we get invited to play in the school twice.
Yeah. I also remember some times that we were definitely intentionally not invited.
Oh, I definitely remember those as well. And those were in the earlier years, though. Remember senior year? That's where we had the pictures of us in the courtyard.
Right, but that was stuff that like the school themselves set up. But I remember like the people in leadership. A lot of times were just like, well, we don't think it's appropriate. I'm like, fuck what you think is appropriate.
Yeah, so you don't think people who go to school here should play music because you don't like it.
Right.
Yeah, that was a lot of that kind of mentality there. Well, the leadership classes, though, which is funny because that's, with that small of a town, the people who are in leadership are usually not the people representative of the people going to school. Oh, the irony. No, like...
But even that, I don't feel like the whole bunch of them was against us. It was just...
No, it wasn't. And even then, it wasn't that it was against us. It was just that they were trying to cultivate a mood that we were obviously not a part of. That.
Yeah.
It was less of an accepting kind of like, yeah, let's bring everybody.
Right.
But more of, we want to make this mood, and you guys are antithetical to that mood.
Yeah. So it got brought up in previous episodes, and I just brought it up with a lot of people because I'm just kind of curious about it. But Mortheo and just the presence of me and my buddies in general, I wonder, it just crosses my mind, like if we created sort of a space for people to be themselves or feel a little safer about taking risks on, letting the world know who they were. So hopefully that was the case.
Do I think Mortheo, for example, made people feel safer, made people my age at the time feel safer about just being who they are, right? Being themselves. I can't really say for certain because I guess that's not something that's really ever crossed my mind, like now or at the time, right? Until just the question was posed to me. I mean, possibly, right? Like obviously, when you see people of your own age, your peers, or like older, right? Just being themselves, right? Just doing their own thing, I think there is a sense of comfort, when you see people they're just like, oh, this guy is just like me, or this guy is just doing whatever he wants and he's cool, and like people just seem to like leave him alone, not bother him, or he's respected even, right? Um, I think there's certainly that kind of effect, and you have a bunch of bands like that, people like that, doing that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I think it could give a sort of comfort, a sort of like sense of well-being, a sense of belonging that might not exist otherwise. Which again, I think certainly did exist, right? I think that's just sort of kind of an inevitable thing. Not something I thought about, but yeah, I would certainly say that that's the case.
I hung out with people that were on the opposite spectrum of normal. I mean, as was I. I wanted to find people that shared, the same quirks that I did, But anyway, I accepted those people as good friends over the years and everything else.
Growing up, there was a lot of things that Brian and I probably both saw the same. And when he used to play his music for me, I felt like I wasn't alone. And that meant a lot to me back then. Because everybody feels alone sometimes, and everybody can look around and see how everything's really fucked up.
Do you think the presence of a band like Mortheo changed things for people growing up in Myrtle Creek at the time?
I mean, short answer, yes. Anybody who was involved, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if Mortheo was the only band in Myrtle Creek, yeah. 100%. You grew up there. You could say the same thing. Even not being a part of the band, yes. Anybody who... Because there's people who didn't know about any... There's people in Myrtle Creek, kids our age and shit, didn't even know that there were bands, even though it's a small town. But the people who did know, yeah. Yep, it changed shit. Because if you knew about Mortheo, it's because you knew about other things. That's what bands like Mortheo did for our town, was give kids our age the idea that we can do more and things are going to be different. Even if Mortheo doesn't become a huge sensation, you guys did that for a reason. You weren't playing because you love music. Yeah, you were, but you didn't keep doing it and keep moving forward and keep trying because it wasn't going to change things. You did it because it was something that can change things. So yes, absolutely.
Late 90s, early aughts, like, Southern Oregon is going to be very, well, not even just like conservative per se, but obviously that's certainly the case, as is most non-urban areas of Oregon. But I would say that, people are less, like they just have less experience with things. For example, like the internet was really big, or getting to be really big and very widespread and all over the place, and so this brings circulation of ideas and all sorts of things like that, like becoming more widespread, and so all sorts of cultural trends and all sorts of things that might have been more local or regional or whatever are like kind of starting to become ubiquitous thanks to the internet, and certainly in places where, like, 1990 whatever in Myrtle Creek is going to be the same as, like, not that different than like 1950, right, in Myrtle Creek. So yeah, it can, having these things just like right out in front of you and not being like, just not being like, oh boy, it's so scary, this is so strange and new and different. It's like, oh, it's just a band of these guys that are just doing their own thing and having their own style or whatever. And people can see that, like, whether you're young or old, and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, this is not not as strange or as different or as bad, right, as I thought, right? Because there was all sorts of different cultural changes going on during the 90s, like, you know, like a lot of like sort of conservative reactions to like say the Satanic Panic and things like that, which in some respects, well, you know, again, this is a longer conversation, but yeah, I would say that in general, a lot of it was just like kind of red herrings, right? You know, they point to, oh, this thing is bad, and this bad, like Dungeons and Dragons, this is really bad because, you know, scary demons or whatever. I mean, you know, like stuff where it's just like, oh, this is literally, this isn't promoting anything. It's a game, just a funny game, right? So, I would say, yeah, it's not. Anyways, I've gotten kind of off topic, but yes, I would say in some respect, Mortheo existing, being Brian Lieberkate, being himself, doing his own thing, is good because it could help people. Like they could see that kind of thing, like, oh, this dude's just like me, you know. Like I just like weird things. I want to, you know, have my own style. I want to do my own thing. I like this particular style, this kind of music, and he's just doing that like every day at school or whatever, and like everyone's cool with it, and like no one's like afraid of him or whatever, you know. And I talked to him, he's a nice guy, you know. Like when people see that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, okay. Like it sort of normalizes these kind of things, certainly in a cultural sense.
What was your favorite Mortheo show? Like I said, I'm positive I've seen you guys multiple times. You know, a few courtyard shows. The very first one I remember. I'm sure I've seen you at the half shell. That said, I don't remember a lot of them, but I'm gonna have to probably go with the first one. The very first show I saw of you guys, when I walked into that courtyard at South Umpqua High and saw you guys for the first time. Just because, like I said, it was one of those moments where I was like, holy shit, these are kids in the, you know, my age or just a little older that are doing this. I could do this if I wanted to do this. So it's a nostalgia type thing. I'll have to say that one. That's my favorite show.
Because you were in both bands, is basically anything Never Better did, Mortheo was there as well. I know we did the park in Myrtle Creek a couple times. That was fun.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what the name of the place was. There's a building. Was it an Elks Lodge that we did? I think that was like the third.
I think it was the community center, actually. I don't think we
was
ever
it
played the Elks Lodge.
Was it the community center? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was.
That was a really fun gig, man. If there's one thing I remember from playing with Mortheo and in the rural towns in Oregon, is that's where I really learned that, like, small towns fucking give it up for local bands and independent bands. Like, these bands that are touring right now, it's still a principle to this day. You go hit up those small towns in between Portland to, you know, Medford, or from Portland to Roseburg, because those kids don't have fucking big bands come through all the fucking time to, you know, they always got to go somewhere or make arrangements to do it. So every time you hit up these small little towns, and I've heard about towns in Idaho similar to that too, in Utah and stuff, a lot of these guys that are touring, you hit these small towns up because the energy is so fucking good there. Like, they show up and they appreciate it. Whereas in Portland, or when we would gig in Reno or Sacramento, we played a lot of the bigger circuits in there. You play a lot of to nobody, right? Because there's a lot of shit going on, a lot of shit to do, and a lot of people, fuck this band, I have my own band, I'm too fucking cool. There's always that type of shit, dude. But if you take the time to stop in these little towns along the way, you get appreciated a lot more. Like, these kids get into it.
I happened to get into the type of people who were playing in bands on accident. Okay? When I was like barely 15. I was in junior high first by 8th grade, and then freshman year, and then, you know, then cash refund and all that shit. Just, it happened. It wasn't because I was like trying to. I just know that I knew about Mortheo. I know a lot of people that were in bands, and to me, it's more confusing to know who was in what band and what band was playing than it is to just know any band in the world for my hometown, which is crazy to say, but I was just always there. Um, like I said, I know I was probably between 15 and 17. No, 15 to 16. Yeah. Um, 2001, 2002, maybe 3. I didn't even necessarily know that it was Mortheo, but I eventually realized that I was, around you guys, and eventually got around you guys more only because I was in the circuit, kind of a thing. It's not because I wasn't a fan or I was a fan. It was just, yeah, I just knew all the bands, kind of,
Well, I kind of felt like, you know, having been in that small town, like I actually gave a shit about what was going on in the town, and like there were other people that gave a shit, and like I know this shows up in plenty of the interviews that I've done already, but there were 6 or 7 active bands in that town, in that tiny ass little town.
Yeah.
Like it baffles me. Now you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
That's just not what the kids do. But
That's pretty interesting, yeah.
But for that window of time, that's what makes it kind of interesting too, is it's like there was a little bit going on before that, and there was some stuff that happened after that, but it was huge at that time.
Yeah. That's how much it catches on, man. Yeah, that's cool.
It was such an impressive thing to be a part of that scene. Just some stupid high school scene, and we had an impressive amount of bands actually come out of a really tiny high school. And then people move on to do their own creative things with artists and stuff like that.
I thought due to the fact that we didn't have much money, we kind of really kind of hustled to be able to make it for the album, thanks to some of the jobs that we had, some of the parents, different things like that. We really, it's hard when you don't have much and you're trying to make it work. But we did. We did it. Maybe we would have been more successful had we had more, but neither here nor there. We are where we are because of where we started.
That's another thing too, is a lot of that earlier stuff, like the sound of it or whatever, came down to we just had to work with what we had.
Yeah.
Like we had a little suitcase amp and we were glad to get it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the other guys had these, ginormous amplifiers.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that I thought was cool about the Myrtle Creek scene too, is that we didn't have all the equipment and shit like that, and people were still pumped to hear it.
Yeah.
Like it didn't have to be like a dick measuring contest about who had the biggest amp.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you can take a tube and turn it up, or even mic it, and you're still gonna get the cops calling on you. So
right.
It's not like you're playing the fucking Moda Center or amphitheater or something. So I mean, and that's kind of like the bravado or the shit that's stupid about some of those people that really are into themselves and take it too seriously, is they approach it like that, right? Like you roll in with your fucking big old stack. You go into Haas Hogs in Lake Tahoe when it was around, and they didn't even have a fucking sound man. So what are you gonna do with all that shit? Like, right?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm glad I have it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's nowadays it's digitized so much that you can do some amazing things.
But I just am glad to not have to struggle with trying to get a lot of noise out of an amp this big. But it was still cool that that didn't matter. Like your material was enough to push you in that scene.
Punk rock, man. I mean, some of the best shows I ever seen was that. It was just punk rock. Just you got a PA, you got amps, turn them up. Does that sound good? All right, go. That was some of my favorite shows ever. Yeah, some of the first shows I ever saw.
Yeah.
You know, a punk rock Dr. No show, which is one of the first punk rock show I ever seen, is not the same vibe as a Metallica show. So it's not that. It's just not. But James Hetfield would definitely be like, I need more snare in the headphones. You know.
Yeah. If we needed more snare, we were like, hit it harder.
I mean, but that's the thing, right? So it's a double-edged sword because you can play a gig and you got a tube amp and you can turn it up, and if everybody levels that, fuck it, let's go. You can still get like a amazing like basement type fucking punk rock show. It still sounds great. And then you could also go into a place where they have a soundboard and a snake and a sound guy that does the shit every weekend or whatever the frequency is that they have the gigs, and dial it in. And I've had that great experience too. But you know what the shittiest experience is when you go into a place and they have the board and they have the snake and they have the sound guy, and then the sound is still shit.
Yeah.
Right? That's
I've
the
had
worst.
that a lot. And the advice that I got was to have your own sound guy. Because that dude doesn't know shit about your music.
Yeah.
the house guy, he doesn't know.
And I do. I miss the old days. Any project I'm on, I still remember sitting in the garage with putting the amplifiers in a half circle right in front of the drum set. That old drum set, man. We tried with everything we had to make the best out of it we could. We had demo tapes, we had all kinds of stuff because we had a blast.
Yeah, I will say that as much as we didn't have back then, it's just having the space and the ability to really take the time to be able to work out all of our songs or shows or whatever we had going on. That's something that seems to be getting harder and harder. People are just less tolerant of other people. There just doesn't seem to be a place where you can set up and play. And I think we were really fortunate to get away with what we got away with. Not that we never had the cops called on us or anything like that, but I mean, where I'm at right now, like, I strictly do recording because I don't have a place to set up and get loud. Like, I could play my acoustic guitar, and I do, but it's not the same thing. And it's not what I would rather be doing. I really wish that we could find spaces again to be able to get loud and make something that I would really be proud of.
I'm not shocked that Mortheo had a following in Myrtle Creek, but I'm just shocked that anybody had a following in Myrtle Creek because nothing was going on in that town. I can't remember any other of the music. I don't know if it was that much memorable, but Mortheo really must have kicked that tiny town's ass.
I remember whenever there was like when the weather was good, and then would have the school, the bands at the high school would play out front during lunch hour, and I was always looking forward to seeing Mortheo. There's always other bands, lots of good bands, and seems like Mortheo was a heavy one actually. Still got my Mortheo, you see it? Mortheo sticker on the guitar case. Way back. So I was always, I don't know, Mortheo was the heaviest, and most metal, and I was there to rock out, man.
Downtown Myrtle Creek, there was a building. I remember going and seeing a couple of local bands playing there, but I don't remember.
The community center?
Yeah. Like, I think I might have seen you play there for the first time, if I am remembering correctly. Like, again, hello, old brain.
Cutting schools to get CDs made for a show. Yeah. I remember you had to convince me. I remember because it was, if I remember correctly, you had to convince me. And then it was like, I think what you said was, if I remember correctly, you said something around the lines of like, isn't this the best reason to do so? And I was like, yep, this is the best reason to do so. And then getting those CDs cut, being bothered with the quality, and then trying to go get the booklets made, and then only being able to get those 100, the first 100, which looked great until they saw what was on the lyrics and then decided, oh yeah, we don't want to support that. That was kind of a bummer. Myrtle Creek and Roseburg reacted to Mortheo in very different ways. Myrtle Creek was, I think, more used to us, seeing us walk around and you know, playing music, and even without a show. Like, that was where we started playing shows. We didn't start playing Roseburg till after high school, or at least in senior year of high school. And by that time, they've had more experience with us. We were playing the school a lot, and you know, trying to get the Grange Hall shows when we could, and trying to get the Elks Lodge. So I think they were more used to us. Whereas like with Roseburg, the whole idea, I just never can get the fingers in the ear, like, out of my head. Like, they hated us for the most part. There was a good majority of people who probably never cared enough. I don't even think it was hatred. It was just like, yeah, whatever, you know. But there was enough people to get into it to where we felt like we had positive, successful shows. But yeah, I don't think Roseburg would ever be ready for anything like that. Ever.
And actually, thank God we fucking did that. It was crazy. Like, yeah, that's like the first and only time I cut school, believe it or not. But like, we had a show that night. We were trying to get that stuff made in time for that show, and so we got in there, convinced them to rush it out, and then yeah, they picked up whichever Bible they happened to be thumping, and fucking said no more. But I mean, if we had just held off and went on a different day, they would have taken a closer look at it and scrutinized it, and we wouldn't have had any copies made at all. So luckily, we kind of rushed it in there, and they didn't look at it too close, and so we got our 100 copies made. But yeah, I guess if we hadn't made that decision, there might not be a Mortheo CD to remember.
It was black, and on the back it had this little blurb that apologized for the delay in the release, and then it blamed it on me.
I forgot about that. I'm glad
Yeah, no, I didn't forget about that.
Describe the collaboration between Mortheo and Never Better. Well, we often, would swap players and writers, and I think that was the biggest thing is, Brian was the link between the two, and drummer for Never Better, and then he'd also get up and sing and play guitar in Never Better, and we're just like a pool of people who played instruments and wrote songs independently, and it was kind of just cool to shuffle the deck between all those players and present some ideas.
Chaos. I'm trying to remember which ones we did. Basically, it would be, from what I remember, it would be like a bunch of layered guitars, to have just that extra heavy, crunchy sound.
I remember we were playing so many songs at that time that we basically almost had enough for another album. Am I right?
I think we had enough for another 4 or 5 albums.
Yeah, we were playing so many that, like, at this point, because they weren't immortalized, quote unquote, immortalized in record form, I couldn't even remember them. So I couldn't even tell you if there were, but I'm sure there were. There had to have been. We were playing so many fucking songs all the time because you were just writing them like a beast. Like here's all these different lyrical content, and I remember even that was like the one song. I can't remember the last song. When I wrote the guitar riff for, and it's like, even if we're writing guitar riffs, we still don't have enough to keep up with all the writing of the lyrics. So I don't think there was ever any song that I was like, God, I really wish we should have added that one. I feel like more Ugly in itself was perfectly encapsulated with those songs, content wise. Maybe not quality wise, recording quality, I mean, but it's definitely one of the reasons why I'd love to re-record it at some point in time.
Is there a song from the original Ugly album that you'd like to hear a new or updated version of? Well, over the years that I've heard your other bands, I think that doing a recut of the album would be pretty awesome. Yeah, I think it would be kind of like what Suicidal Tendencies did with their old stuff and re-released it with fresher vocals and the meaner sounding guitars and drums and etc. I mean, everything sounded better through them with that album, so I think you have the potential to do the same thing with Ugly.
I think of all the Mortheo songs, I probably still play Lavender the most. Yeah, every once in a while I'll play You'll Never Know now that I'm not like completely sick of playing it. It's nice to play it again. Security, once in a great while. There's one that we had back in the Mortheo days called Caliber that I play every once in a while. But yeah, probably Lavender and Caliber are the ones that I play the most.
I think about, like, during those last 2 years of Mortheo, which was shortly, I guess even more than that. I mean, I was going through some really heavy shit with my family, and which you know about, and the whole idea of playing with Mortheo was like the first example that I have of music essentially saving my life, giving me purpose, making me want to continue on just for the sake of playing fucking music.
Yeah.
My girlfriend now, she's talked about how music has saved her life multiple times, and it's like, God, I know that feeling.
Right.
God, I know that feeling. But it's a different kind of feeling of, rather than just like listening to it and hearing somebody that knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's providing that music and hearing people like Widget or any of the Nichols kids and being like, man, you guys, like, I love hearing your music because I'm right there with you.
Right.
It's a big deal. I know that's what Bart was talking about as well, about a lot of what he used to do in Reno.
Yeah.
And how depressing Reno is, but how that is a shining example of something good to focus on, which is not just even Reno or Myrtle Creek, but really anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the other thing, like, from my perspective, doing lyrics and vocals, like, why would I pay a shrink? Like, I get to put it out there to everybody, and they listen, and they don't necessarily know that they listened. They don't know that they sat there listening to my problems for half an hour.
Sure, I'd argue though that if a shrink is just listening to your problems, they're a shitty shrink. Because they're supposed to actually provide you perspective. but that was kind of the thing though. The perspective that we got from Mortheo was thank you. It was either this or thank you, which is what two extremes.
Right. Which is perfect for
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of those bands that we used to listen to, like in those earlier days, like Korn was the same way,
Yeah.
right? Nirvana was the same way,
Right.
where it's
Definitely very polarizing.
yeah, and
me as a person, I feel like I'm polarizing.
you in the middle of a small redneck Oregon town wearing full black spikes, like necklaces, pure white contacts, upside down cross in your forehead.
No, it was upside up.
Was it?
It was upside
Was
up.
it
That
upside
pissed
up?
people off even more, is because they're just like, wait a minute, you're a what now? You're a Christian, you say?
Oh yeah, and I remember actually that was one of the things that helped to define my religious understanding too of you. Yeah, because it was an upside down cross. Now I think about it. Yeah, it was a straight cross, and you got shit for it. Like, that looks like it's upside down. How is that upside down? Are you upside down?
Well, that was the thing. Is it like both Christian people and non-Christian people were pissed. They're just like, I don't like what you're doing, and I'm like, sorry, I guess.
Not doing it for you, but yeah, sorry.
Right. Like, I'm kind of not interested. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I think that brought out, like, being in Mortheo made me more aware of the people who were around me and, like, what they really thought. I got a chance to see what people really thought, because when you hear that music, like, or you see it live, you can't hide that, you know, unless you're Kaiser. No, it's great! Toby, come here, you need to get more solid on the beat. What did you say?
You're off beat.
Oh, yeah, I was, because I was just so, like, excited. Play it all the fucking time. But, yeah, I think about the entire process, I felt like we were going to be rock stars.
Yeah, like, I remember talking about it back then, and I was like, I would want to make a living off of music. But I wasn't looking to be a rock star necessarily, because I knew that there's a punishing element to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, you'd seen from enough people that, like, there's a definite downside to that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I want that necessarily.
No. That's
like, I'd have taken it. No mistake, I'd have taken it. But but like, here I am, fucking damn near 40 and washed up, and I'm still enjoying it. I'm still putting it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even necessarily washed up if that's why you're doing it, because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, that, and the thing is, too, when I was thinking that we were going to make it, it wasn't even necessarily because I had, like, these delusions of grandeur. That's the way to put it. But it was more of, I saw it was doing to people. I saw that it was giving that same kind of response to these friends of ours, and just knowing there's got to be people who are the misfits, if you will, of small towns all over the fucking country. Like, to be able to have that kind of recognition, you know.
And I think that was kind of like the draw of it too, of being bigger, is it's like you can reach that many more.
Exactly.
That many more people can hear us, and that many more people, hopefully, we can give something to.
Right. Exactly.
And I kind of don't, like, I asked a couple people, I didn't ask a ton of people, but I kind of don't know if people ever felt like they were being represented or supported by some of the songs. Like, there's a few songs that are definitely there to be, like, specifically people in this situation. Like, I see it and I get it, and
you'll never know.
Here's what I think about it.
Yeah, you'll never know is a great example of that.
I mean, that one's a little more self-serving because, like, I'm in that situation.
Right. But that's the thing, though, and how many different of those artists that we just talked about, like Billy Corgan's writing, right?
Yeah.
How many of it did he write specifically because he was in that scenario, and then it ends up being something that people end up using as representations of their own scenario.
Right.
I think that was most of the writing, I imagine, that you did for Ugly, and that you even did for Never Better. You know, when you actually got a chance to write some vocals. I know that you'd be the drummer.
Yeah, I didn't do a ton. We definitely had some songs that we were like, oh yeah, we could use this. I remember we were going to cover You'll Never Know one time. at a battle of the bands, and then we got cut for time, so we didn't do it.
That happened a lot to us. Playing shows. Oh, you're gonna need about 2 more songs. I thought you said we had half an hour.
That was 2 hours ago.
I don't know that. I mean, you might have written that much music. We don't think we knew that much music.
I don't think it mattered.
Yeah, you're right. That's
There's
true.
definitely been times like that we've just been like, here's how it goes.
Yep. And I'm gonna see how long I can hold a D chord.
Actually, one of the things that's going on here is that super short project I did with Tyler and Doug. It never even got a name. We've got some live footage from that.
Nice.
That you're drumming for. So as far as just gathering Mortheo, it really just kind of fell into place. Like, X moved over from Winston sophomore year of high school and was in band class with me. And so we were just playing the tunes in band class, and I'm like, oh, this guy can legitimately play on the set. I gotta hit this guy up. And he was into similar music as I was, and I think socially he had similar struggles, at least in the past. South Umpqua embraced him pretty well. But through him, I came across Switchblade, who had previously been, he'd lived in Myrtle Creek, but he had switched to the school over in Winston and met X there. And so brought him in, and he was shocked at first. That was culture shock for him, like in a big way at first. But he wanted to play, and I think ultimately, like, he discovered something for himself in that, because socially he had definitely been put through the ringer in a similar way to what I had. And so I think that gave him an outlet that he wouldn't have had. And even Mortheo aside, there were how many bands? 6 or 7 bands in that tiny town at any given time, and a lot of them one way or the other kind of felt that they were on the fringes. Some of them not so much. You could tell who was who, but I think people just kind of gathered together, and music gave people on the fringes a voice that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And whether they were the front man or the drummer, like, it was a group effort, and they supported what was going on. And I don't know, there was a sense of community, even if it was just 3 or 4 people. Like, it's pretty incredible, like, the bond that you'll find with people just playing music with them.
He was already kind of skeptical about the idea about joining a band. He wanted to join a band, but he wanted to make sure that it was something like that he was excited about. And
right,
the whole idea about, oh, he just happens to live right down the street from where we moved.
Yeah.
What a very serendipitous change.
I remember the first time he showed up to a practice, he was like, this is fucking different.
Yeah, he wasn't sure what to expect about it, because he was very, old Roy Orbison bluesy kind of music, and it's like, no, we got angry grunge here. Yeah. Let's see what you think. But he, like me, started to get into it and was like, yeah, this is really kind of what I want to play.
Right.
So, I mean,
and I feel like, not to get too personal on you, Aaron, but I feel like Aaron had a lot of anger growing up that he didn't get to express.
Yeah.
And now he had it.
Yeah.
And he could, publicly on stage, and that was a big part of it, was just the communication. Like,
right.
If I'm gonna have to go through this, you're gonna have to watch.
Right.
Whether you like it or not.
Which is what all of us felt, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I think that's what some people coming in didn't necessarily understand. Like some people watching it got it.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like there's definitely been several people who have been like, by seeing Mortheo play, I realized that it wasn't just for people on labels and big rock stars.
No.
Literally, these guys going to school with me are doing this. I can do this.
Right.
And Brian, I really appreciate your music. You know, growing up, it gave me something to do, something to go towards.
Upon the Earth, new album coming out soon. Okay, maybe not, but
hey, you made it. We're now at the Zer0 Butcher acoustic version of Lavender that I tacked on here for you. Secret track, if you will. And thanks for listening. The next episode will be episode 4, and we will be moving on to Never Better.
Toast to forever, to better times, to everlasting fear. We mold our lives, reach for the lavender that fills the sky, then pull the trigger to make things right. I will not help you destroy yourselves, so say farewell. Circumstances kill. I need no help. Madness told me so. The breath ran out from inside myself. My one last chance, please don't forget the evidence I won't present. In lavender I see the end. It rests in her and dies with me. We'll toast the bottle down, the dollar sign. We'll let our sorrows drown and lose our minds. Reach for the lavender that fills the sky. Keep chasing after her, die in her smile. I will not help you destroy yourselves, so say farewell. Circumstances kill. I need no help. Madness told me so. The breath ran out from inside myself. My one last chance, please don't forget the evidence I won't present. In lavender I see the end. It rests in her and dies with me. My words won't help, things will fix themselves. But if they don't, I'm dead anyhow. My one last chance, please don't forget the evidence I won't present. In lavender, I see the end. It rests in her and dies with me.
As usual, I want to thank everybody who took the time out to put in their 2 cents on this and take the time to answer my questions. All you guys out there that are listening, I hope you're enjoying it. We're moving on to the next band, and I hope you enjoy that.